So a very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Arab Affairs, our show bringing region. I'm Angie Meher joining you for the afternoon's show, and of course straight away we begin with a look at some of the news making the headlines. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi underscored on Saturday Egypt's unshakable commitment towards attaining the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, the establishment of their independent state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. The president's remarks came in an address delivered on the occasion of the celebration of Laylat al-Adr, which was organized by the Ministry of Endowments. We have more details in this report. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi witnessed on Saturday a ceremony organized by the Ministry of Endowments on the occasion of Laylat al-Adr at Al Manara International Conference Center in New Cairo. The ceremony was attended by the Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Al-Azhar Grand Imam Sheikh Ahmed al-Tayyib and Minister of Endowments Mohammed Mukhtar Gum'a, as well as a host of ministers and Islamic figures. In his address before the attendees, President el-Sisi said that the loyal sons of Egypt were striving, each in their own field, to overcome difficulties and challenges, offering their lives for Egypt's peace and security. President el-Sisi praised efforts exerted by scholars of Egypt's Al-Azhar and Ministry of Endowments to ratify misconceptions about the tolerant Islamic faith and its moderate and balanced approach. The president was keen to voice the Egyptian unequivocal and steadfast solidarity with the Palestinian brothers in the Gaza Strip, where Israel has killed over 33,000 people and injured thousands of others and destroyed most of the infrastructure. The head of state said Egypt will spare no effort to bring an end to hostilities and ensure the unfettered delivery of much-needed humanitarian aid and relief into the Strip, delivering aid to the Strip, stressing the importance of bidding by the two-state solution with the Palestinian sovereign state and East Jerusalem as its capital. In addition, President el-Sisi honored a number of winners of the international competition for memorizing the Holy Quran in its 30th edition. Welcome back, and still with our news. In his address, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmed al-Tayyib, also spoke about international institutions and their claim to pledge peace and security in the world as they still stand powerless in the face of the brutal Israeli aggression against the helpless Palestinian civilians. We have more details in this report. During a ceremony organized by the Ministry of Endowments on the occasion of Laylat al-Adr at Al Manara International Conference Center in New Cairo, Al-Azhar Grand Imam Sheikh Ahmed al-Tayyib gifted President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi with the second issue of Al-Azhar magazine, which is considered as an important scientific and cultural event in 2024. In his address, the Grand Imam said the international institutions that claim to pledge peace and security in the world stand powerless in the face of the brutal Israeli aggression against the helpless Palestinian civilians. Minister of Endowment Mohammed Mukhtar Gum'a also gave the President a copy of Ru'ya Encyclopedia, which is co-published by the Ministry and the General Egyptian Book Organization, to summarize some of the endowment's publications in the field of renewing religious discourse. Gum'a reviewed the ministry's efforts during the last years to construct and renovate mosques nationwide, as well as efforts to prepare imams in a way that would suit the present time and requirements of the religious discourse. He also hailed their efforts to combat extremism and fanaticism and confront distorted ideology. The minister said the blessed Laylat al-Adr, with the tremendous religious and spiritual meanings it embraces, is a recurring annual occasion, a time for reflection on profound virtues. Laylat al-Adr is the night when the first verses of the Holy Quran were revealed to Prophet Muhammad. It falls within the final 10 days of the month of Ramadan, and although the exact date is unidentified, it is commonly thought of as the holy month's 27th day. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for the afternoon, Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science at Al-Azhar University. Dr. Hassan, a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Hello?
Hello, Dr. Hassan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you
Thank you
now.
very much, Doctor, for joining us this afternoon.
Also, most welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, of course, today, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, during his address on the occasion of the celebrations of Laylat al-Adh, which was organized by the Ministry of Endowments, the president was very keen, to voice the Egyptian solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza. He said Egypt is sparing no effort to achieve a ceasefire, as well as the continued delivery of aid to the Strip and working for the Palestinian people to obtain their legitimate rights. How do you see the president's address of the Palestinian situation in today's event?
Yes, the president really expressed the will to help out from the very beginning, and the Palestinian cause is our cause. The Palestinian state is an objective Egypt would like to establish. So I think that the president showed through his action since the beginning of this crisis that Egypt is so careful not to enlarge the conflict, to contain the conflict, to stop the war, to fix a ceasefire which the entire nations of the world in the United Nations has agreed upon. So I think Egypt is so containing. Egypt is determined to establish peace and security and stability. So I think this is reflected quite clearly in the word of the president today.
Absolutely, Dr. Hassan. Also, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi spoke about the need to continue the rejection of the forced displacement of the Palestinians and stressed the importance of abiding by the two-state solution with a Palestinian sovereign state and East Jerusalem as its capital. How do you see the importance of the continued, persistence by Egypt and other Arab nations with this regard?
Of course, when it comes to forced transfer, yes, Egypt's policy and the president was very keen since the beginning, the very beginning of the crisis, and he told that to all the leaders of the world, and told that to the entire world that Egypt will not allow this transfer because this is an end to the Palestinian cause. And Egypt also has a sovereignty. This sovereignty must be respected, and we rejected both forced transfer or unintentional by events. It could the complicity of some international power could come up with a transfer again. So we are against this transfer. Every fair-minded person in the world is against this transfer, and many leaders all over the world, including the United States of America leaders, asserted this rejection of the transfer. So it is supposed to be a decided point. But let me say that the occasion of the speech of the president is very important.
Yes.
Because it is the occasion of Laylat al-Qadr, which is the night of destiny, is very important experience in the Islamic world, how to endure, how to be peaceful, how to seek reward from God by good deeds. So I think the context here is very important because the night of Qadr, the word in Arabic is very exuberant. It is a night of destiny, translated sometimes night of power, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God will empower us if we do if we are in the right path. So I think it's a precious night, and it is a divine one. It is a predestination here and decree of Allah, and we seek the help of Allah because the president said that we are facing unprecedented challenges, but we are dealing with these challenges by endurance and by taking calculated steps and with good intention to have peace and stability for everyone. So I think we seek also the help of God. Yes, we need the help of God in that. And I think that eventually verily in every difficulty there is a relief, as the Quranic verse says.
Absolutely, Doctor. And also today we've seen, as you said, it's a very important occasion, and all the attendees addressed the situation. Even the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayyib, spoke about the international institutions that claim to pledge peace and security in the world and are still standing powerless in the face of the brutal Israeli aggression against the Palestinian civilians. How do you see his condemnation of the international powers?
Yeah, I think that, of course, our Grand Imam, Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayyib, has expressed his views from day one of the crisis. And he did not only came up with condemnation, but condemnation, strong condemnation, and also he insisted to send aid. He knew that there is a catastrophic human situation in Gaza, and and all Muslims and all fair-minded people all over the world are sympathizing with him and sympathizing with what he stands for.
Yes.
Because, yes, there is a human disaster, a human catastrophe. And Al-Azhar is against such a thing, of course. And Al-Azhar sent many aid for people in Gaza, and the human aid should be allowed to get into the Palestinian lands, the Palestinian occupied lands, and I hope that everything will work out in the final analysis, inshallah.
Indeed. Finally, Doctor, negotiators are expected over the weekend in Cairo for a renewed push to reach a ceasefire or a hostage deal. The U.S., Egypt and Qatar have been engaging in behind-the-scenes talks to broker this ceasefire for a while. How do you see, this move? Are you optimistic that it can reach something concrete on the ground?
Actually, Egypt's perseverance for continuing this very difficult and very tough negotiation and the entire Egypt proved its sincere and strong intention to get a fixation and a ceasefire and starting to have economic and all kinds of aids being influxed into the Palestinian land for the people, because Egypt also is against this, and along with all the world leaders, against the starvation of the people,
yes.
Which is could be a policy, it could be a terrible stuff that's taking place. We are against that. So Egypt is exerting all possible avenues, and I think that the negotiation is very difficult, but Egypt has hope and has perseverance and insistence to do what we can do, and hopefully what we would like to achieve in Egypt here is for the sake of everyone, for the parties and for the entire world, of course.
Absolutely right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science, Azhar University. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time and your insight, and for joining us on today's edition of Arab Affairs. Now we bring you a report on the latest negotiations that are expected in Cairo over the weekend. They have been confirmation of the negotiations occurring in Cairo. We have more details in this report. American and Israeli negotiators were expected in Cairo over the weekend for a renewed push to reach a ceasefire hostage deal in a war that has raged for nearly half a year. Senior administration officials said ahead of the talks, U.S. President Joe Biden wrote to the leaders of Egypt and Qatar, urging them to dial up pressure on Hamas to agree to and abide by a deal. The United States, Egypt and Qatar have engaged for months in behind-the-scenes talks to broker a ceasefire and an exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners, but have made no headway since a week-long truce in November. The White House confirmed that negotiations would occur this weekend in Cairo. Israel and Hamas, which negotiate through intermediaries, have traded blame for the lack of progress. Biden spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier, during which they discussed the ongoing hostage negotiations and round of talks in Cairo. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said Biden told Netanyahu to empower his negotiators in Cairo so a deal could be reached as soon as possible. In the same context, the White House said it is ready to work in coordination with Israel, Egypt, Jordan, United Nations, and humanitarian organizations to guarantee the implementation of steps announced by Israel to increase the flow of aid into Gaza. Israel has approved the reopening of a crossing into northern Gaza and temporary use of a port in southern Israel, after U.S. President Biden demanded steps to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, saying conditions could be placed on U.S. support for Israel if it did not act. Welcome back. Still with our news, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that he sincerely hopes Israel quickly and effectively boosts aid access to the Gaza Strip, describing the situation in the Palestinian enclave after 6 months of war as absolutely desperate. We have more details in the story. Antonio Guterres said he sincerely hopes Israel quickly and effectively boosts aid access to the Gaza Strip, describing the situation in the Palestinian enclave after 6 months of war as absolutely desperate. Guterres told reporters when the gates to aid are closed, the doors to starvation are opened. More than half the population, over 1 million people, are facing catastrophic hunger. Children in Gaza today are dying from lack of food and water. He said nothing could justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Global outrage at the humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian enclave of 2.3 million people escalated after an Israeli airstrike on Monday killed 7 people working for the U.S.-based food charity World Central Kitchen. The United Nations says at least 196 humanitarian workers have now been killed in the 6-month-long war in Gaza. He said the Israeli government has acknowledged mistakes. Guterres Friday called for independent investigations into the deaths of all the 196 aid workers during the war and said he hopes Israel quickly and effectively boosts aid access. Meanwhile, the British government has called for utmost transparency and a wholly independent review into the killings of 7 aid workers in the Gaza Strip, as well as lessons to be learned to prevent a recurrence. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.